Okay, I'm going to shut down my participant view. If we can just kind of hang out and make sure that no one gets stuck in the waiting room, that would be great.
Right, I'll monitor that.
All right, awesome.
Okay, welcome everyone. This is another in the series of Maryland Online webinars. I am very pleased to introduce Dee Culp from Frederick Community College, and she's going to introduce her team. Please keep yourself muted and put your questions in the chat. And without further ado, I'm going to turn my camera off and turn it over to Dee. Thank you everyone for coming.
Good morning, guests. I am Dee Culp, and I manage an academic program at Frederick Community College. And I was fortunate enough to attend Maryland Online's Leadership Summit 2 years ago now. And we would like to share with you some free technical tools that you can use for delivering your content online. I am fortunate enough to work with Joseph Rafter and Lyons at FCC, and I want to introduce them, and they're gonna get away and take you on a voyage through the interwebs. So from to emergency management through animal control, and I work with Lyons, who comes to Frederick Community College from McDaniel College. He majored in poli-sci. He is our instructional specialist. And for those of you who are not teaching in colleges, instructional specialist is a term for everything we need to know. He does our curriculum advising, student advising, manages grants, but more recently, he has started on this project of publishing desktop, web, audio and visual stuff so that we can keep up with the changes in how curriculum and educational content is delivered. And he's also on the governor's commission in Maryland for volunteerism. So
once upon a time ago, I can't say still am. There are terms.
2 terms though, so reserved. And then Joseph Rafter comes to us from Frostburg. His master's is in educational technology and he's working on a PhD. He has 15 years of teaching experience at the high school level in colleges, including Fordham, Montgomery College, UNC. And after that, he coached teachers in, guess what? Educational technology. So you will all be in good hands. He is a member of his local Rotary and some ed tech associations. So he stays on the cutting edge. And we all hail from Maryland, and we all work in Maryland now. So hopefully we will be able to answer all of your questions as you proceed through this morning of exciting tools that are also free. Enjoy.
Good morning, everyone. I need to qualify something. Dee, I didn't teach at Fordham or Georgetown. I just took programs there. I don't want to be someone I'm not. So welcome, everyone. Let's try this. There we go. We're going to do a couple of things today. We're going to have a little introduction. I'm not going to read the rest of it to you, but that's our schedule. All right, so we'll get started with the first part. I want to see what everyone posted. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at that poll.
Saying as we're going along, feel free to keep on adding things to both of them. They're live forever, so.
Right. So online teaching, possibility, fun, popular, challenging, interesting. Did anyone have any negative words they wanted to add? Convenient? Yeah. I put down scary the first time I ran this, and then I realized I shouldn't put that down there, but here we are. Okay, nice.
2 separate adventures. This is great.
Right. This is fun. I like it. All right, let's switch back to the PowerPoint.
Disengaging. That's a good one.
All right, feel free to continue to watch that as we go through the presentation. All right. Okay. So, okay, some key thoughts. What I want to do is clarify something and talk about what this is not. Today, we're not going to give you the 40 greatest add-ons for Google Classroom or Google Docs. We're not going to give you the 55 best math tools for middle school science. What we want to do, though, is look at a couple of tools that are free, that you can use online or in a more direct face-to-face environment, and actually use them. This won't be a tutorial. That's what Google's for, and some of the resources we have listed at the end. But what we'll do is demonstrate how they can be used. And we wanted to limit it to just a couple so that we talk about their real application value rather than giving you a fire hose full of a list of, too many things to actually talk about in any kind of detail. On the Padlet, you have a couple of places. We included the part about adding a meme just so we get to know you a little bit, but there's also a place to put down any amazing resources you have, because none of us here know everything. What we have is our own little piece of the pie, and we get good at that. But if you have something that we don't talk about today that you really want to share, put that in the Padlet, and so we can build on our library of skills. Now, why this matters is easy. We're educators, and we want to engage our students and increase the possibilities of their learning as much as we possibly can. Because teaching doesn't matter, learning does. And what we're doing here is exploring some tools that help motivate our students, engage them, let us know how they're doing through the assessments, and build them, support them, grow their knowledge. So, and hopefully we'll discuss some things that actually work. So will work for you in your environment. Speaking of which, no one really knows what the rest of this school year is going to look like, or the summer. No one really knows what the fall is going to look like. So with that in mind, we made the effort to include some tools that work both in the classroom and in the distance learning environment, or in the hybrid environment. So
and that's one of the big things coming from, we are an emergency management public safety department, even though we wear 15,000 hats in a suit. And one of the things that our field has recently learned, but has always sort of known, is there are too many potential disasters to plan for all of them specifically. Same thing goes here, is you'll get too many tech emails in your inbox every day to keep track of the 50 best ones. We could give you the list today and it'd be useless in 3 days. Right. So working on the strategies and sort of figuring out how they can be used, how to apply them, and sort of the genres to work with, that we're hoping that gives you a better avenue towards, like, in a year when we're in upside down hybrid and you've gotten, like, Zoom has taken over the world backwards, it will still work because right. Principles are always there.
Absolutely. Okay, so before you're going to have to forgive my cat. It is ill and it won't be quiet. So I hope it's not too loud. And it's right on time for interrupting a Zoom presentation. It only ever happens during a presentation. So here we are. Let's talk about why we do the things we do. And let's talk about why we're here. Because the truth of the matter is, what motivates students is the same thing that motivates us. Now, I've done quite a bit of research on this. Well, let me rephrase that. I've read quite a bit of research on this about motivational theory. And what motivates us and our students, it boils down to 4 things. The first is mastery of the meaningful. We don't care about learning something that we're not going to be able to use. Our students won't care either. So we need to make those connections, those links between what they're learning and why it matters to them. Everyone wants recognized. That's a universal phenomenon that works in video games the whole way down to feedback in the classroom. And affiliation. Anyone here who's a member of an organization knows what I'm talking about there. We want to be involved with the people that add value to our lives, and we want to be known as a member of that community, being recognized in that way. And then finally, autonomy. You are free to be here, you are free to leave. Our students don't always have that same freedom regarding the curriculum, especially if the curriculum is driven top down from the state to the local community to the local administration in your school. However, you still have the freedom as an instructor to make decisions about how you present the knowledge, how you present the information, and then what your students do with it, how you engage them, how it enhances what they're learning in the classroom, and how they extend that beyond what you do in the classroom. And giving them choice will motivate them also. Now, that whole idea of the engage, enhance, and extend, those are the 3 E's. It was Liz Culp who wrote that when she was talking about educational technology. Now, I know this is an aside, but it matters. We all need to remember that educational technology was once, again, apologies for the cat. Educational technology was once a pencil and paper. It is now Zoom and these other tools we're going to look at today. So we need to keep that in mind. And I would encourage you, whatever environment you have, always have students with something to write with and something to write on, because you never know when they want to jot down an idea or reflect. And sometimes the easiest way to do that is to go low tech. It is still tech, but low tech is good. So, okay, on the Padlet, if you haven't already gone there, here's the link again, but it's the same Padlet. I want you to think about that idea of motivation and how it fits into what you do. What do you do that fits into those 4 aspects of motivation? The mastery of the meaningful, the recognition of the student, their affiliations, and their autonomy. So take a moment and go ahead and add to the Padlet, and we'll take a peek and see what you guys come up with.
In the meantime, I am on a liking spree on all of your memes. Well done, folks.
Nicely done. Okay. Don't be shy. We'll give everyone a minute to think about their responses and post them.
Can you show us the question again?
Absolutely. Actually, the question was pretty open and free-flowing, Matt. It was, what do you do in the classroom that you think will motivate your students? What are your experiences as an instructor that will engage them? And I'll pop that back up, but it was pretty open, so.
I will throw it in the chat as well, just for the sake of multi-formatting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and well, I collapsed the columns into one, so here we are.
It just makes recording in the appropriate column easier. There's no choices.
Now that goes counter to the whole autonomy thing there, Alan.
I encounter guided pathways, etc., but I'm a rebel like that.
Yeah, I like it. Posting videos, I like it. Gaming definitely motivates our students.
But may turn off others. True.
Interestingly enough, what kids like about gaming is what motivates them in the classroom, that intrinsic motivation. They master levels, they level up, they're recognized by the leaderboards. If they're playing in games that involve other people, there are scores. There's affiliation attached with being good and being on teams, and the autonomy to play how they want, play who they want, play when they want. So let's take one more minute. Hands-on activities. Oh, sense of humor is great.
There we go.
Sharing stories, how it makes their jobs easier.
Videos to check in, connect with, that's good.
Absolutely. And the interactions with others. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to jump back to the presentation. And thank you for everyone who contributed to that.
So we have our first comment. They used the word andragogy, and I am so proud of all of you.
Nicely done. Okay, Alan, do you want to discuss this one?
So we've just had you sort of walk through a couple uses of Padlet. The first is memes. The second was answer questions, and we'll talk about them. And that one's probably familiar. The memes, maybe not. This actually comes from a marriage of some things that I've seen some of my K-12 educator friends do, as well as a requirement that FCC put in when we started into the this first true semester of hybrid online, everything's on Blackboard education. And that requirement was every class, in order to tell if a student is really there, has to have an assignment, basically day one, week one. Doesn't have to be graded, but it has to be there so that you can tell, is a student actually signed in and able to like respond to something, or are they just like, have they not even shown up for day one? What that does on the FCC level is it helps you figure out, like, has someone dropped off? Have they withdrawn and there's a tech issue? Have they had a personal issue and there's a lack of communication about it? Or are they literally just late to class? But as an instructor, it has some bonus value on it. If you got an early assignment, this is a way, like, this is your icebreaker. But as Dee Dee likes to say, you want to make your icebreaker one that doesn't suck. So living in an online world and with students who tend to be younger than us, we saw a couple of folks who were in andragogy already, and it's not always true, but we're all in internet land and most of us are reasonably familiar. So posting a meme gets around a lot of challenges and comes with layers. First one, I guess, is you don't need to worry about questions of, well, add your name, show your video camera, have a background in order to get to know your students. If one of your students is posting Big Chungus, one of them is posting I Can Has Cheeseburger Cats, and two of them are posting memes about Dos Equis Man, then you can tell, okay, we've got a generational split in the class. We've got some folks who are probably super internet savvy, have been on it for forever. We've had some folks who are towards the adult end of the spectrum, or at least that's the way their sense of humor goes. And on top of that, you know that they're engaged. You can tell that they're there in a way that's not, hi, tell me what your favorite thing is. It's, what's your personality? If you're posting dark memes the first day of class, and your teacher, as a teacher or as another student, you can see that, you go, oh, this person has that kind of sense of humor. That's cool. If everyone is posting My Little Pony or happiness, you know the class may be a little different. So you've got that layer to it. But the other is you have a chance now to do the memorize the seating chart but without needing the seating chart. You can have them if you want. I've seen some teachers do this, have them set that as their profile picture, if that's legal within your school district or within your college. And that can be their avatar if they are not comfortable with their camera being on, or if they don't have background all the time, or bandwidth is a challenge. It allows them to still have personality, even without having to share to that level of personal degree. And it can be sort of a balance to the newish online education in a pandemic mode. And then maybe sort of the last and sort of most important layer is it lets you be friends to a degree. Like there's always that bar in there. You don't necessarily want to always be super friends with your students. But if you start off with communication of not write a 5-page paper, not give me your instructions, not like sit and listen to this lecture, but engage with me on the level that we all do when we're not here, that can set your class off in a much more adaptable direction. Gives you buffer in case there are tech failures. We all know we're on the same page. Easier means of communication, and sort of like back to the beginning, break the ice, the real meaning of break the ice, but without sucking. And all of that is in a meme. We did that in memes. So that's there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And often more meaningful of an introduction. Excellent. From calling from the comments section.
Yeah. One of the other nice things I like about Padlet to open up a session is that it gives everyone something to do while we're waiting to start the show. Mm-hmm. There's always a few people that come in just a little bit late because of technical issues or scheduling, and especially if they have back-to-back. And it allows the instructor or the team to keep some momentum. It keeps everyone engaged, and engagement's the real key there. And those of us who teach in a synchronous face-to-face environment also know that as students are entering, if they have nothing to do, they'll find something to do. And often that isn't the most productive use of their time, and pulling them back from that can happen also, or can be a challenge. So the Padlet gives us a chance to get started and moving in the right direction. And one final note, for those of us that are teaching in this synchronous but distance environment, teaching to black squares is challenging. Doing something like the Padlet that we just did, fill in the comments or fill in the column about motivation, gives me an awareness that you were there and engaged, because you can't always get that feedback right away when it's a photograph or a black box on the screen. So let's see, who asked the question? Amy, you asked about student names. This is entirely dependent upon which level you're teaching at and your school system. Higher ed, not a concern. K-12, it really depends on your school system and where they stand on personally identifying information. And finally, what you intend to do with the Padlet. If it is disposable, meaning you're going to use it today and never touch it again or delete it tomorrow, student IDs don't really matter as far as students putting names in. However, if it has some sort of permanence to it, you have to take into mind FERPA and other considerations. That's the Federal Education Records Protection Act. And we need, well, and there's also common sense involved. We need to protect our students, especially if they put something up that is personally identifying. So that's a great question. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about our first tool. Actually, our second tool. Padlet was our first tool. All right, our second one is Edpuzzle. And while everyone is getting to the link, you can use the QR code, or you can use the link there, the bit.ly. Let's talk about what's good about Edpuzzle and what's difficult. Thank you, Ellen. Edpuzzle is a way for a teacher to give students video content while collecting evidence of their engagement, while giving students an opportunity to share what they know based on that. So It's easy for you to monitor what they understand, definitely interactive. However, there's a learning curve with it a little bit for the instructor, and there's equity concerns. Not every student has the bandwidth at home to engage in online video, so we need to keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and take a look at Edpuzzle.
Joe, while you're doing that, could you post the link direct in the chat? It seems like my copy has landed in 404 land.
Okay, I'm sorry, your link ended up in 404?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Tony. That's a possibility that it may require you to, I still end up having trouble copying the link, so let's try it this way. When I'm in presentation view, Alan, it's not letting me, so let's end the show. And we'll go back.
You can find Edpuzzle at edpuzzle.com. And Joe, if you are able to share the link, that's great. And if not, we can share your screen.
Okay. So here we'll put the link in and we'll get back to sharing screens. Thanks, Didi. And back to the presentation. So I'm going to jump on over to Edpuzzle now, and we'll take a peek. All right. Edpuzzle. Now, I'm going to play it on my screen, and I think I shared audio. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this works out. Well, I'll tell you more about the speaker in a little bit. So
I talked to a friend of mine at the school about this phenomenon.
Are you picking up the audio?
Yes.
Very good.
And right away, she knew exactly what I was talking about. Groupers, she said. They're like groupers. That's how they react to everything. They sit there with those frowns on their faces.
Now, here is your opportunity to put an answer in. What do you think she's talking about? So if you're participating, you have that option to type in an answer. If you're not actively engaged with the website right now because of the account situation, don't worry about it. And I typed in some filler here, but the students have to actively engage in order to continue.
She said, don't even bother with them. Well, I didn't listen. I kept trying. And I'd come at them with my great ideas. I'd be sitting at lunch and I'd be like, okay, hey, I've got this problem I'm having with my students. You know, I'm wondering if anybody can give me some advice. And they would say, no talking shop at lunch. Or maybe I had something that went really well and I wanted to share it with them. I'd say, oh my gosh, my second period today went so well. The kids were so focused. And I'd hear from the other side of the room, somebody would mutter under their breath, yeah, they were probably stoned.
So I've added another open-ended question, and this is what I recommend for your students when you're using a tool like this with video. Yes, no questions. Sometimes they're important, but that really misses the value of a tool like this. What you want to do is have them thinking about the content in a critical way. And the question I added here was about your experiences as an instructor, as a teacher. How often have you heard comments like that from those around you? And if you have, how did you react, or how would you react to something like that?
And for those of you who don't have the Edpuzzle,
started to wane.
Feel free to share in the chat.
Good call, Didi.
every time I shared something new and I got that reaction, I started to doubt the validity of anything that I was sharing. And after a while, I just stopped sharing altogether. And when I look back on my years in the classroom, of all the mistakes that I made, it is this holding back, this withholding of ideas that could have really made a huge difference in my school. That holding back is my biggest regret. And since then, in all of the years since I left the classroom, I have been obsessed with the question of what could I have done differently? Now, I know I'm not the only one who deals with groupers because I see them on social media. Let's take this post from Edutopia, for example. Fantastic program. Struggling students are assigned to a teacher. They check in with them for a few minutes in the morning and a few minutes in the afternoon. Fantastic. The post did so well. It got hundreds and hundreds of positive comments, teachers saying, oh, we need to try this, we need to do this in our school. But of course, there were also the groupers.
Now, this question is asking for a prediction. And for those of you that have had any literacy training, you know this is a pre-reading skill, or not a pre-reading skill, it's a pre-reading strategy. And it works just as well with video. Having them predict what's about to come gives them something to look for while they're watching or while they're reading. So think about what kind of objections do you think the groupers might make to this type of program? And the second part of that's really important because us as professionals, us as practitioners, we know the realities of teaching in a K-12 world. We know the realities of teaching in higher ed. So will the groupers be necessarily wrong? So that's something else to consider.
There were the teachers who only saw more work for themselves. And then there were the teachers who were the been there, done that crowd, who saw it immediately, didn't even read the article and said, oh yeah, we tried that already, it didn't work. And then there was the not my job group. Somebody else should be doing this. This is not something we should be giving to teachers. These objections, this pushback, it is everywhere. And it has the power to stomp on great ideas until we stop sharing them altogether. And that negativity, that pushback, is only a small part of what makes it hard to bring about positive change in our schools.
Okay, and we're going to stop the video there. Let's see. Calvin, you asked a question about when is it meant to be used. This can be used in the synchronous face-to-face environment. It can be used in the asynchronous distance learning and also the synchronous distance learning. It's really up to you how long the videos are, what type of feedback you want, and when you want to look at it. As an instructor who creates an ed puzzle, and for those of you that didn't have an account, zero worries right now. But as an instructor who creates an ed puzzle, what you have the ability to do then is go look at everyone's responses. And if you're in a synchronous environment, you can watch them update live. You can keep track of your students' understanding live. And or you can go back and look at them later. As long as this particular activity exists, you have that student feedback. So you can use it in that way. Okay. Throw a hand up or throw something in the chat if you have any other questions about Edpuzzle. My personal feeling about it is that it's a valuable tool. Well, let me back up one step. Video is a valuable educational tool. There's a lot to learn and there are a lot of resources online in video format. The truth of the matter is YouTube is the second largest search engine behind Google. YouTube has passed all the other possible search engines. So if someone wants to learn something, they go there and the videos are there. So it's a really powerful learning tool. However, in the classroom, there's not always the evidence of their engagement with that. So Edpuzzle gives you a chance to do that, especially with something with content like this, things that matter that you want your students to get their hands around, to get their brains around. Did we have any hands go up?
We did not, but I will just note that it's also a good way to, I don't want to say get around, but there's a trope, I guess, in online ed that the basics is throw some videos in there, have some discussion boards, carry on. Yes, video is important. Yes, if you can do short clip ones, that's great. All the advice is solid. But having something like Edpuzzle, even if it's not specifically that, where you can have a level that is greater than sit and watch YouTube, of engagement for the student, and also like engage with the student for you to be able to monitor, but also for them to do, because you can sit and watch YouTube and tune out. It's not a big deal.
Right.
But if you've got something that actually focuses you on it, it takes it back from being a rote checkbox that you do because you have to do online ed correctly, and mac into something that actually gives you educational value for them and you.
Okay.
So that got some questions, Joe.
Okay. So Wendy, you can have a universal student account if it doesn't matter that you have individual feedback. However, if you want to look at individual students, yes, they'll need to have an account. And Beth, all of these tools we're looking at today are LMS agnostic. Since they're web-based, you should be fine with that. And none of them talk directly to your LMS. That's the sad reality with educational tools right now. They very rarely talk to each other in a way that's meaningful to us. Okay, so the next tool is Flipgrid. Now, because of time, we're not going to demonstrate Flipgrid. I do want to show you what it can do though. And Flipgrid, you can take that same video, and rather than have students write responses during their experience of watching it, you would have them post their own video about the response. And here, I would record my own response and post that for the teacher to see. All right, so we're going to close that because looking at me twice is enough. Once rather is enough. But it's the same content, a different way to engage the student in a different way. And this is really nice if you have students that have problems with writing and you still want to engage them with the content. This is great for students who have problems with reading. It's another way to engage. The drawback, of course, again, is bandwidth and equity. If they don't have devices that allow them to tape themselves, we got challenges there. So that's something to keep in mind. But this is another nice tool. Any questions about it? Okay, we're going to jump back to the PowerPoint then. All right. Okay, now the polling. We did that poll in the beginning that turned into a word cloud. If we go back to that poll now, if you can go back to that link, I want to show you another way to use polling. All right, we're going to go to the next question, and I'm going to activate that. Now, the question is, how could you use polling in your courses, either in a synchronous or asynchronous environment? Okay, so it's the same link as the one you used for the initial question to create the word cloud. What is one word you can use? What you do as an instructor is you turn that off and you jump to the next one. And let's see here. We have no responses yet, but you can see these pop up live during the course. So how might you use polling in your classroom? Nice, formative feedback. These are excellent answers.
Consensus topic choices. You guys are acting like this is democracy. Ah.
Checking in. Excellent. Okay, more than one. Bottom lining. These are excellent.
Brainstorming is very good. There's also, while we're sitting here watching these come in, there's a handful of online collaborative whiteboards that'll do similar kinds of things. They work sort of like this, or like a, if you've ever used Jackbox Party Pack or Kahoot, that's the word I'm thinking of, where everyone has the option to jump into a single online host whiteboard, and they can write on at the same time. It works like a collaborative Google Doc, but you can like scribble on it. So having things like that also work, and they come cheaper than if your system doesn't like Google.
Okay. The key with using any polling tool, now I prefer a Mentimeter, but I wanted to experiment and play around with Poll Everywhere. The key to that is the pre-planning. I had both of these questions prepared and ready to jump between the two. You'll have issues with student accounts. You'll have to manage that. And how long you keep the information is also important. As an instructor, you also need to moderate the content, and you have the ability to delete responses if they're inappropriate. And of course, they're persistent. They will stay until you decide that they have to go. Now, let's take a step outside and go, let's break down the fourth wall. What have all these things done? We had the Padlet, we had the Ed Puzzle, the Flipgrid, and the online polling. You know, what have these things done during our first 45 minutes or 40 minutes since we started at 10:05? Okay, Matt, you're right on money. Right on the money. Michelle, same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I know it's listed under engagement tools, but what kind of value does that add in a synchronous distance environment? Okay, Wendy, thank you for the kind words. Right. Now, granted, we're learning these tools, but we're also using them for the very reason they exist. That's so that you as an instructor have your students thinking about the content that you're presenting. Pam, you're right. Active learning. It's too easy to sit back during a Zoom presentation and just listen in the background. And you don't have to raise your hand to show me, but there are people doing answering email right now. And that's just the nature of the professional world we live in. But giving them a way to actively engage is also giving them a way to process that knowledge and hang it on a different hook so they can keep it for later.
Matt, you've also got one that I'll jump on of. It justifies the fact that this is being done synchronously. That's very correct for a lot of this stuff. In the world of this could have been an email, or this email should have been a meeting. Having things like this that are able to approach the concept of doing online ed in a pandemic, not as, oh no, we have to be online because public safety dictates it and it's an emergency and it sucks, but we're here, right. But more as, this is just another opportunity to do education well. It's just new tools in a new format. This one says we need to use a different set of things to make it justify our students being here. But we had to do that before. It was just separate tools. We had to make sure that our presentations were engaging, that we didn't stand with our backs to the whiteboard too long, or knew how to like project a voice. Like teacher voice was a thing. Now just knowing how to build is a thing.
Right.
It may change again.
And with an audience like this, everyone here can add value to this discussion. And those tools are a way to draw out that value, to give you a voice, even though we're in an environment like this. Oh, thanks, Michelle. You're full of kind words, like all over the place. Love it. Okay, let's talk about formative assessment tools for a second. We know why we check what students understand. We have our goals. We have our objectives. We want to get here. We want you to know this. We want you to demonstrate that. Well, the only way to know for sure if you're doing your job or I'm doing my job is to do a formative assessment and moving along the way. These tools that we've talked about so far give you that kind of feedback. And it does several things for me. It lets me know if I need to go back and fix something. Well, it gives you that opportunity too. It lets you know later if you need to redo the lesson. It lets you know what's going well, if you want to look at it that way. But everything has to be driven by your learning objectives and your goals. Okay, as far as formative assessments go, Alan mentioned Kahoot, and they're down under the review tools. Kahoot, Quizzes, Quizlet, Socrative. They are the low-hanging fruit. They are great for test preparation. They are great for information you need to memorize. However, a lot of the things that really matter to us are not the things you can memorize. It is the tools and the skills you have to use to do something bigger, where you have the deeper thinking and demonstrating more comprehensive understanding. So obviously you can use shared documents like Padlet or Google Docs. In a current course I'm taking now, we've had a Padlet the entire semester, and we've been adding to it every week. And I was skeptical at first, but this particular tool has been working really well because we have a lot to say, you know, guys like us. So, or folks like us. And then another thing you can do for formative assessments is just the remote conferences, sitting down with your student or your participant one-on-one. Now, obviously, that doesn't always work in the K-12 world based on your system and limitations placed on you by your admin. However, having that one-to-one is the best form of formative feedback. When we are in the synchronous face-to-face environment, asking the student, do you have a question? Even if it's in the middle of a class and you just notice they got that puzzled look on your face, that is the best way to find out. So if you can replicate that with an online tool, it's all the better. Any questions about these simple things that we can do? Oh, remote learning plus. That was just to remind me that in remote learning, the conferences really matter.
So one thing onto that as well is not only do they matter as a formative assessment by themselves, but one thing we've discovered as we've sort of gone along ourselves is 30-person meetings, whether you're a class or you're a organization, are a mess and can be a drain if they're not done properly, and they can be a drain even if they are done properly.
Right.
But meetings where you are sitting with one or two people that you're talking about things and you know it's maybe not being recorded and you're like, it's closer to a human conversation or like you had a Skype call, those can actually be re-energizing. So if you have the opportunity to throw that in with your students, take it and make the most of it as a personal connection too, because they may be zoomed out as much as you are.
And that, Alan, that's helpful because what Joe said in the beginning is that when technology was a pencil and paper or a chalkboard and a slate, they were new and they were interesting. How should we use them? MJ Bishop of Maryland Online always says the fantastical story of the military donating a plane to teach geography, and teachers went up in the plane with a globe and had children in the plane looking at the globe they were pointing to instead of out the window. So we have to remember that these technologies can do things we haven't done before, but they can also do things we've always done. I've had students photograph their papers so that they could email them to me because they wrote them longhand.
Mm-hmm.
Students do a long voice message to me rather than write a paper and then just send it to me electronically. So there are things that technology can do for us and our students that make these formative assessments possible over a distance.
Calvin asked a great question. He said, what do you do when you got 90 students? And you can go low tech, raise your hand if you have a question, or if you prefer, all right, thumbs up if everyone's with me. Now, you don't necessarily know if it's true, but at least you know that they heard you ask for a thumbs up. I don't recommend Flipgrid with the videos for 90 students because then you've got 45 minutes, if we get a 2-minute video from each one. I'm sorry, no, math is, and I aren't getting
2 hours.
2 hours, thank you. 3, but
Never do math on stream.
yeah, that's right. So 30-second videos, you still got 45 minutes, but if the Ed puzzle will work, the Padlet will work. I don't know if you can get that feedback synchronously. And that's a tough question. But the group, thumbs up, thumbs down, and raise your hand if you have a question. That's about the best I can do with the synchronous environment. The online tools, you don't have a chance to really explore them in a efficient way. Sorry about that, I got a phone call. All right, so here's another tool you can use that we're not going to demonstrate today. That's GoFormative. This is much like Edpuzzle, except it's for text. You can embed questions right into a PDF document, a Google Doc. So this is a really powerful tool. It's also free. It's premium. We'll say that. There's a lot of good features that cost a couple of dollars, but you can also use this on a free basis. All of these resources are in the end of this PowerPoint, which will be available to you. So if you haven't been able to keep up with the chat, they'll all be there for you. All right, want to learn more about formative assessments? I say there's 3 places to go: Edutopia, MIT, and the last one is covered up. What university is that?
Illinois.
Yes, great places. So you can go there. Now, the key ideas with formative assessments: know what you want to do. Choose the assessment that's going to let you know if they know what you want them to know. And fun fact, we've done 8 planned formative assessments in this presentation alone. And you can go back and think about those, but they were chances for you to demonstrate what you know or to ask questions for us. So, all right. In the closing, I'm going to jump down to the one that really matters. Be nice to yourself. Whether you're in a 180-day school year, whether you've got an 18-week semester, or whether you're doing a 3-hour presentation, there is nothing you can break that you can't fix, especially with online tools. So be good to yourself, be good to your students. This distance environment is difficult. The face-to-face environment is difficult. This job is difficult. So be good to yourself. All right. I'm going to jump back. One other important thing. Don't worry about learning everything. Mm-hmm. Find some things that work for you and get good. Find things that work for you, find things that work for your students, and work on those. All right. We have a bunch of links. One thing I wanted to point out, the woman we listened to during that Ed puzzle is from the Culp of Pedagogy, and her work there is amazing. Excuse me. So keep those in mind. We got a little bit of research here. Now is the time for questions. So fire away. You can unmute yourself and just call them out, dump them in the chat, throw your hand up. We've got some people watching for them.
And though we are approaching the nominal endpoint, is we will stay here as long as Wendy lets us stay here. So ask away.
Good point.
Hours. We could be here hours.
Right. Now, this is something that I want to share with you that I have not been able to master with Zoom or any of the other tools, Microsoft Teams, Skype for Business, any of the things we use. When you ask if anyone has a question and you're waiting for a hand to go up or something to end up in the chat box or someone to unmute themselves and say something, there is no way not to look foolish while you wait. All right, that is the reality of this environment. So when I say, does anyone have any questions? I'm going to sit there silently and look uncomfortable, and there is no solution for that particular problem. So it looks like we have a couple in the chat box. Okay, Dana, Ed Puzzle Live, the results, let's say you're in the distance environment and you have everyone on their own device watching and responding to a video. On your browser screen, as the instructor, you can see what they're typing and you'll know live what they're responding to. So that's what I mean by Ed Puzzle Live. If you're in a classroom, that's harder because everyone's going to have the audio going at the same time. So that's not always good to have it live in the classroom, but you're able to use the tool and present the questions, and they can write them down or they can type them in. You would have them mute their audio while they're doing that and listen in the big group. But that's what it means by live. And Calvin? Calvin, you have to scale up for this. You know, is it best to use one tool or multiples? Respect the fact that there's a learning curve for all of them. There's going to be a learning curve for the instructor. There's going to be a learning curve for the students. I would say in the beginning, work on one thing until it's useful and effective. Jim McKnight did some research on when he was writing his book about professional development coaching. And it turned out that a teacher needs to try something about 20 times before they're really effective with it. They need to do it almost 20 times until it becomes natural and they're guaranteed the results. So with tools like these, you want to go ahead and work on them and practice them until the students becomes automatic. And then you can start adding complexity and different tools to that. All right, I hope that answered your question. Let's see here. Michelle.
So Michelle, I'll go ahead and I'll start that one. Joe, you can pick up anything that I miss.
Sure.
Basically, the question is, do you ever have trouble getting older students to do a meme-based activity? And the answer, at least for me, has been sort of sometimes. It depends on your specific audience and like you are all adults and we got a bunch of memes and it worked. There are some audiences of kids who will still be reticent about that. But we also do trainings for like FEMA employees, and some of them are not necessarily the most meme friendly in the world. In that case, I think it comes down to, at least for me, knowing the audience a little bit ahead of time when you're going in. You can adapt things that way. To take the FEMA example, if you have a bunch of hardened police officers or firefighters or emergency responders showing up in a classroom waiting to be trained, maybe don't ask them about memes. Maybe say post your favorite story about a response or that went like sideways in a funny way.
Right. Alan, I'm going to cut you off.
Oh, please do.
Beg your pardon. We've reached our endpoint. If you need to go, or more importantly, if you want to go, please do. I don't know if Wendy has anything that she wants to add, but if you want to go, that's great. We will stick around for any of the other questions. And Beth, you're absolutely right. So I just wanted to get that out there to you. So Wendy, did you want to interject here?
Wendy said we can close. Oh, sorry, Wendy, I thought
No,
you.
go ahead. I was just going to say that we will be sending the slides and the recording link out. So go ahead, Dee Dee.
Okay. So if you need to go, go. And thank you very much for participating today. Thank you for joining us. For anyone who wants to stay, please stay, and we'll give a chance for people to jump out. Thanks, Joel. Appreciate it. Thank you, Larry. Thanks, Jen.
So we do still have a couple people. If anybody has any questions, you can unmute and chat with us. Or if you want to type it in the chat box, that's fine too. I know some people might have technical difficulties with using the full range of Zoom features.
Right. Beth made a comment about a question and an answer before. As far as too many technology tools, as an instructional coach, I would always tell my faculty, use the right tool for the job. If it's pencil, use it. If it's dry erase on a whiteboard, use it. Use the right tool. And if the technology tool isn't engaging the students, enhancing the lesson, or extending the learning, don't use it. Technology is not the end, it is just the means to that end. So always keep that in mind. All right. Trying to keep track of the messages here. All right.
Any thanks and varying things. One amen. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana. Or Dina, I'm sorry. All right. We are down to just a few folks. Please unmute yourself if you have a question and just fire away.
Hello. It says Calvin. It's because I'm on my husband's account, but my name is Andrea.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. You're probably like, that's a woman's voice.
We weren't going to judge at all. We were just about to freak out because we'd been using Calvin this entire time. We were hoping to be accurate.
It's okay. So my question is, we've had this discussion. We have a really large nursing program. And one of our greatest struggles with going online is, you know, the whole active learning. And we were just getting going with it in the class, and then now, boom, we're hit with having to do active learning online. And so a question had came up and said, you know, how do you evaluate your active learning online when you have a class of 90 or 100 students, right? And so, you know, I think I really appreciate what you put out here for us today, because I was under the impression like I had to do this evaluating of my active learning, these strategies in the moment in the synchronous class. But with using these tools, I realized like that I don't have to do that. I can go back and I can do that evaluation. But I think the thing that was confusing me was I thought that the active learning was the Padlet and the Flipgrid and the online polling. And I thought that the evaluation had to be something different. But it seems as though the active learning and the evaluation methodology can be the same. It doesn't have to be something different.
Exactly
So,
right.
I feel better.
I didn't catch your name, Ms. McKinney.
Andrea, I'm sorry. Let me
Okay.
just, because you're probably like, who is this person?
Right. Like take the Padlet, for instance. While we were talking, we could be scrolling down through that Padlet, and if we see a response that's not really on target, we can address that individual response, not necessarily the student calling them out, but saying, this may not be the best. And did anyone else have any questions? I feel like I've done a lot of talking.
I do have a question.
Sure.
Turn my video on. Okay. I think it was in Edpuzzle. Would I be able to actually record my video and then put in my interactive questions, or am I going to record my video in something else?
Edpuzzle is kind of nice. It gives you the option of going out to YouTube, and it does the link to that. It gives you the option of using any video you create. So you could record yourself. Now, what I don't know the specific answer to is if they have their own video recording tool. You may need to record it somewhere else and then have it and then upload it to Edpuzzle. And I don't know the answer to that particular piece right off the top of my head. I could go look, but I'd rather engage with you right now. But I do know that if you can record, if you're able to record it anywhere, you can upload it. I just don't know if they have the tool built into Edpuzzle.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the question.
Do you know if it records, if you're going to record YouTube, sometimes places want you to put it as unlisted or better, because if you make it private, it won't share and won't make the connection properly. Is Edpuzzle one of those?
Pardon me?
Is Edpuzzle one of those where you need to have it at least unlisted?
No.
Okay.
No. All Edpuzzle cares about is whether or not they can read the video.
Cool.
Yeah.
if you ever, for those who are here, if you ever run into any issues with syncing, that sort of thing, sometimes it's because YouTube, when you set a video to private, means that no one can get it, software, human alike. And setting it to unlisted instead, you can just change one toggle inside of the YouTube settings, and that will solve a lot of problems. We had some challenges with that at FCC, probably back in the fall or so when people were first getting used to it.
Yeah.
When using Edpuzzle, does the video need to reside on my computer, or does that tool also provide free storage?
Edpuzzle's site will store the video. And in that way, you can use whatever device you want in whatever environment that you're in to do the prep work and the assessment work. And then the students can see it on any device they land onto. In that way, it works very well in an asynchronous environment. They log in to their Edpuzzle account. You've added them to your classroom. You've given them access to the video. And you don't have to be around, nor do you have to have your machine turned on. These are great questions, by the way. And you folks that have stuck around to hang out with us, well done.
So we don't have stickers, but we would love to give you stickers if we had stickers.
Well, I have one other question. What environments have you seen maybe Edpuzzle used in, or what courses have you seen it used in?
Now, my teaching experience is limited to the K-12 universe and the high school, and I've seen it used in all of the humanities, social studies, foreign languages, English, literature classes. I've never seen it used in a math class, and well, I have seen
it.
You can use it in math class. I can think of a way right now to
make it fit.
Yeah.
I can see it in my stat class based on some stuff I was doing last night. I will make it fit in my stat class,
all right,
as well as some of my other math classes.
Okay, but here's the thing. If there's a video that is a good learning tool, it doesn't matter what you're teaching. If the video adds value to your instruction and it helps you achieve your objective, you can use Edpuzzle. Because you're going, what's that, Didi?
Another thing about Edpuzzle is that if I'm going to show a video in my classroom, that kind of seems like a waste of time. I could have just told the students, watch this before you come to class. Some will, some won't. But I don't do that. I always have to pause it and say something on important points. And Edpuzzle makes that seamless so that I don't have to show it in the class so I can comment about it. I can Edpuzzle it and do the asynchronous assignment of it.
Yeah.
For the stat inclined, thinking back to my own stat classes, just to spare Joe his PhD or ed doctorate program just had him take his stat classes, so I'll take this hit. I love it, but though Edpuzzle doesn't have like a show your work function, there's nothing stopping you from having the pause, say, go watch this video to this point, solve this problem, come up with your p-value separately, piece of paper, whatever format you need, and then input that in. Then you can check later to see where these responses accurate and then go along. I'm not sure what video you would use that with specifically, but I know that the tool can work because we did a super, super, super low-tech version of it back in high school a long, long time ago.
Now, I didn't want to do this sales pitch earlier, but Khan Academy integrates really nicely with Edpuzzle. So if you have videos that you can pull off of Khan related to your math classes, your stats classes, you can build, you can insert the questions into those Khan Academy videos. So like I said, if the video achieves a learning objective, you can use Edpuzzle. All right. Any other questions?
Us.
Hmm?
I think the questions are dwindling off. Thank you all for joining us. We will share the slides with Wendy so that she can share them with you. And as always, she has recorded this session and she will share if you know anyone who missed it, or if you would like to watch us again, more power to you. Thank you all, and I'm sure we'll see you around.